It's funny, like in early, I think it was 2015, my phone rings and it's John Newman. He said, "What's up, brother?" As he does. He said, "Hey, look, so, I've been teaching the culinary program at Seaside High School for the last couple of years, and I can't do it next year, so it's your turn, you're doing it." And he hung up. Just like that. So I did it for 2 years, and it was awesome. It was like super rewarding. The following year, I couldn't do it. So, of course, what do, right? I call him up and say, "What's up, brother? Hey, look, I can't do it next year, so tag, you're it." And I hung up the phone.
I went to Bible school there in Cannon Beach, I knew nothing about life, knew nothing about the world or anything, and John was a safe guy. I was working at Pizza Hut Feta, slinging pizzas, and I think John was talking to me. He's like, "You wash dishes?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll bust out some dishes." He's like, "Oh, you want to come wash dishes for me at my restaurant?" I was like, "Yeah." So I went and washed dishes for a little while, and someone's like, "Oh, you work for John Newman?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, he's kind of a heavy hitter." And I was like, oh, I'm working for this chef, And so I was like wanting to learn stuff. And so John's like, I came back to work and I was like, "Hey, John, I know, you're in my church, you're, in these different places, but I want to do this. I want to do this." And he was like, "Okay, you want to work the line? You want to do prep?" And I was like, yeah, I want to do it. Next thing I know, I'm in his garage, adjacent to Newman, the Newman's garage, and I'm sitting there cutting onions on a chest freezer, and I was like, "All right, this is chef life." All right, and so and I was going like this for a while, and I remember he had this one sous chef working for him. I won't mention any names, but she was hard. She was hard to work with, and I had to make these salads. I call them stupid salads, but they were these salads. Daikon radish, cucumber, carrot on top. Had to stand it up. Candied walnut, spherificated pear, gorgonzola, balsamic drizzle. And you have to chill these plates in the fridge that can take 14 salad plates at a time. I know this. That 14 salad plates could chill at a time with the dinner plates and everything else that was going to be in there. And I'm putting these salads out, and Faitha, who I won't mention, bumps his prep table. And nine of my salads, standing beautifully, topple. And out of my 14 salad plates, I have to pull 9 more out and make 9 more salads, and I get orders for about 14 more salads. And I'm sitting there, and she's like, "All of your salads are wrong." And I was like, "No, I can see that now. I can see that my salads are wrong now." And I make these salads, and I hit this point that night where I was like, "I'm done here. I'm done with cooking. I don't want to be a cook. I don't want to be a chef. I don't like any of this." And I remember I was walking out the door, and I called John, and I was like, "I don't know what to do here." And he's like, "Swing by the house." And I was like, "Your house?" He's like, "Yeah, my house. Come swing by my house." I was like, "I'm gonna drive to your house." He's like, "Yeah, come by the house." I said, "Okay." So fuck, I have to. Or sorry. So I say, okay. So I go there. I was like, I have to tell him face to face that I'm gonna quit. And I show up, and he's holding. I'm 19, by the way. He's holding a bottle of wine and 2 glasses, empty glasses, and he's like, "Come on in." And I go upstairs into their house, and I was like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't do this. I hate this. This hurts. This sucks." And he's like, "Is it worth it to you?" And I was like, "No, no, it doesn't feel like it's worth it to me." He's like, "Look at the people. You work front of house, you work back of house. When you serve the people, does that inspire you?" I was like, "Dude, this is all I want to do. That's all I want to do is serve people. All I want to do is cook for people." And he's like, "I know. Is it worth it to you to work under people that you don't like working under? Is it worth it to you to have mistakes? Is it worth it to you to fail in order to succeed?" And I remember this conversation. It was like him and Sandy both are sitting there grilling me like, "Do you want this or not?" And I was like, yeah, I want this. Like, I want this. I worked for John for 5 years. I helped him open fishes. I attribute everything that I am to John Newman.
2009, we're at James Beard and we're checking all the food in, right? You know, you really only have like a day. You really, generally speaking, you have one day. Your food arrives, you can put it away. The next day, you prep, you work, guests arrive at 7. That's just the deal. So we're putting all the stuff away, we're getting things working like a day early, and we're unpacking all of John's groceries, which I'm sorry, brother. But what a cluster. He's got everything, deli quarters, duct tape around it. It's like stacked in there like Jenga puzzle. It's super crazy. And he's like, "Where's the foie gras?" I know I sent the foie gras, right? Like the most expensive ingredient.
Yeah.
Well, he sent it by itself. I was like, "Well, how'd you send it?" "Well, FedEx, brother. How else are you going to send that stuff across the country?" Like, okay, you got a tracking number? Yeah, and I was like, just let me handle this. And I think my wife was with us, and Jen was there, and I'm like, let's take this off his plate, right? So we hunt it down. Well, John had sent the foie gras to the proper address at the James Beard House, but the zip code was Cannon Beach. So it's out there floating around somewhere. So we found it. I think it showed up maybe 2 hours before dinner started. But we did find the foie gras.
Yes.
It's pretty funny.
I got probably 2 good stories about Newman. I think I kind of felt like the pinnacle for me at the stage I was at when I had my first chef job, my first head chef job at a restaurant, was when John Newman showed up to eat in my restaurant, and that was pretty awesome. Him and Sandy came in a few times to Yummy when I was running that place, and really liked it. And I think the next pinnacle would have to be a few nights later when he called the restaurant and asked to talk to my pastry chef, and offered her a job. I'll never forget that. She came back to the line and she said, "That was John Newman." And I said, "Oh yeah, what did he want?" She was like, "He offered me a job." And I thought, all right, I guess that's how this works. It's my first gig, so that's my favorite story about John. Next favorite would be when we were in New York, and it was a time after I went for the first time with you, Chris. The second time, he had heard about this amazing seafood market, and it used to be in Manhattan, but they'd moved it to the Bronx, and we all got out of this dinner and at a really great restaurant, and John decided we're all just going to jump in a cab and go. Well, him and Jeff Trineri and I think one other person filled the cab up, and there was 6 of us, and there was no taxis that would fit 6 anywhere. You know, like, it wasn't, you didn't have an app, you couldn't find somebody to take you. It would have been like 4 people in one taxi and one in the other. So we're like, we'll just take the subway. And we're a bunch of city kids, not understanding what the Bronx is, and not remembering that it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. And so we get off the train in the Bronx, and the woman behind the bulletproof glass looks up and does like a triple take at us and is like, "What are you guys doing here?" We walk down to the ground level, it's pitch black, and we're just like, I guess we'll find it somehow. And this guy was wandering around, so we thought we'll ask him for directions, and he turned out to not be a very savory person. And a taxi rolls up, doors all pop open somehow, some new feature to the Ford Explorer or something, and this Dominican guy starts yelling at the other guy in Spanish, and he's like, get in the car. Somebody who's a guardian angel shows up, and he's like, "What are you guys doing here?" And we're trying to find our chef. He went to the seafood market. So he goes, "All right, I'll take you to the seafood market." He takes us there. We find him, find John. and the whole crew, and they've already kind of seen everything. And John has convinced a seafood salesman that's used to selling pounds and pounds of seafood to sell him 1 pound of scallops. I think it took him like 20 minutes for him to like convince him to sell him 1 pound, and we didn't see him again for the rest of the night. But we ran into him the next day, and John and Jeff, who are super good friends, and now hopefully hanging out.
Exactly.
They found some 24-hour diner, and they took the scallops in, and then again used their magical powers to convince the cook to make them scallops. And they were eating them raw and then cooking some. But yeah, that was the kind of random stuff that I'll always remember from John.
John was a pretty amazing guy as a culinary arts teacher. He was extraordinary with kids. And, you know, when you're a teacher, regardless of the content, what really matters is how well you interact with kids. And John, I don't think I'm the only one that would say he's kind of just a big kid himself. So, and every once in a while I'd have to have a little chat with John, like, John, there's a math class across the hall. They can't hear to teach, you know, so because it was a joyful experience for him and for the kids. And I think one of my favorite memories, and Josh is part of this, is the kids compete. High school teams compete, teams of 4, and there's a state championship. And the first year we won the state championship was under John Newman, and we took the kids to Baltimore for the finals. And Josh and Will LaRue were the coaches, because we had exterior coaches as well as just John, and took these kids back. They landed 14th in the country, with the White House chef being one of their one of their judges. And so John, and along with Josh and Will, really knew what they were doing. And I still remember the only time that John didn't act like a teenager, he was like a grown-up that couldn't believe these kids had done this, was the night that Josh and Will had the fight over where the best Philly cheesecake sandwich was. And Josh, I guess this is a story about you. They get in the car and they drive from Baltimore to Philadelphia to go to multiple Philly cheesecake sandwiches, roll in like at 4:30 in the morning, with everybody wondering if they're gonna make it, and because the competition's the next morning. And I'll never forget the look on John Newman's face when he found out where you had gone. He's going, they're doing what? It's like, though, you know what? John probably would have done it himself if he could have gotten away with it.
So John was just always, everybody knows how funny and how lighthearted he was. And, you know, he'd take any rascal with a knife and a passion for food and take him under his wing. And he was just always super full of life. But my favorite memory was going to the Truffle Festival and down to Eugene in his old beat up Volvo with his surfboards in the back, trying to fit everything in around the surfboards. And you know, we had a great time cooking all the food, drinking all the wine, and you know, it's probably about 2 a.m. when the rest of us are all pickled and we're ready to go to bed. And John Newman's running down the hallway with fresh abalone, and he wants to know who's going to help me eat the abalone. So, you know, we're all ready to go to bed, and he's out there just, you know, still ready to go and full of zazz. And that was just really one of my favorite moments. Like, John, everybody's, no, okay, maybe one more abalone, and then we all have to go to bed. But he was just such a great guy, and that was probably one of my favorite memories with him. So, yeah. Cheers.
John was a chef at that point. He took on a couple other jobs throughout time for whatever reason, to give back, do something else, to mix it up.
I don't think he ever had one
Health
job.
insurance. Some of us really may never know, but he took on other things, and at the time was the instructor at the Tongue Point Job Corps culinary. I think it needed filled, and he's like, I'll do it. Something like that.
Yeah.
So we did Light Bite 2000 and something. And as you do, after the event.
It's the only time that we ever get together as chefs and
Right.
go out and have
like,
a drink.
It's
right?
like old times, right? You get together, it's like your college frat buddies or something, right? I'm not sure it's the best thing ever, but it was always fun. Anyway, so we're at the chart room, perhaps maybe having a few beverages, imbibing this and that, and Jeff and I agree. Oh, hey, we should come into your class, John, and do like a throwdown with the students. We'll do like an Iron Chef competition or whatever. And
Sounds like a great
he's
idea.
like, that's great. We'll see you guys in the morning. What time? I'll be there at 9. So I wake up in the morning at, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm thinking to myself, you ever wake up in the morning and feel like you're supposed to be somewhere? Thinking to myself, oh crap. And I called Jeff and I was like, you up? And he's like, why? I was like, you remember last night? He's like, not really. I said, yeah, well, we agreed to go out to Job Corps and do a throwdown with the students. He's like,
I'm
oh.
like, is that today?
He's like, is that right now? I was like, dude, it's right now. I'm like, I'm getting in the car. I'll see you in 5 minutes. I'm picking you up. And this is the only time I'm ever going to admit this to anybody, but we stopped at McDonald's and got some Egg McMuffins. Oh, yeah. Because what else are you going to do when you're feeling all jacked? There was no chicken wings available, right? Let's get Egg McMuffins, a giant orange juice, and one of those extra large McCafes, right? So we roll out the Job Corps, and John's waiting for us. And we got, okay, here's what we're going to do, and we're talking about with the students. We're going to break up into teams. A couple of you are going to be judges, and John will be a judge. A few would be with each one of us, and we're going to have a throwdown. And the best team wins, right?
And then John says, oh, my order hasn't come in yet, so there's not really much
Well,
in the fridge.
this was a bit of an understatement. You go to open the fridge, and there's literally,
Frozen chicken.
I think most of us can agree, it was empty. You look, he was like, there's nothing in here. There was like frozen chicken,
You had fresh cauliflower.
a handful of condiments.
Yeah. There
It was
some
sparse.
Egg roll or
don't
spring
know.
wraps. Spring wraps.
Some leftovers from something
Yeah.
else, probably a John Newman
There was
5-ingredient special soup or whatever. Anyway, so we do this throwdown.
There was frozen bay shrimp. I remember that.
We do this throwdown, and it was a complete blast, and it was really like. But for John, it was a lesson about how to have fun competing and
Think outside the box.
Think outside the box and make a meal with hardly anything. Okay.
Met John when they built the Stephanie. Traveled with him to New York with such fine chefs as Bob Neroni, Chris Holland. And what I got to say is that our loss is heaven's gain. Truly. And the thing he did for me, besides yank me to New York as the cork dork, was treat me like I was special when I was just the guy driving by. And it's a small thing, but it adds up. When somebody's trying to be your friend and you persist on watching them really, really, really care and love about you, you get convinced, and it's reciprocal. And I've heard from many of you and the way it felt, but John and Sandy have definitely imprinted me on what it's like to be adults.
Hey John, it's been a while, and you know, sorry that this is how we got to see each other again. But you know, I don't have a whole lot of stories, but I always remember everything that you showed me or you taught me. I remember the time you came to the Sweet Basil and we were talking and everything. And I just want to say you were one of the first people to show me really cooking and how certain things go together. And I'll never forget that. I'll always be appreciative and grateful for that. You know, just when I heard what happened, it's just I'm still trying to kind of think about it and trying to figure out what's going on. But you know, things like this will take time. But I know you'll always be up there. I know you'll always be in the ocean doing your thing, and You know, and so I remember this. There was one time where I think it was the first time I actually came and I wasn't working for the Newmans, but I came and helped out for a few weeks. And I remember the first things you ever said and did was you needed to take a break. So basically yelled out to the kitchen like, all right, I'm taking a 5-minute break. I'll be in the go and get the surfs and stuff. And I'm like, what? Did I just hear that right? And everybody's like, oh yeah, that's Newman. His breaks are going to surfing and everything, catching the waves, and so I always thought that was one of the most unique things about you, because you could take that time but still think for your business, still think for yourself, and still think for others. Yeah, that's one thing that I'll always capture. But hey, always got to live your life. Keep going. Can't let things bring you down. And so, yeah. Rest in peace, man. We're here for you, and you'll be here for us.
My first encounter with him was doing my very first wine dinner with him at the Stephanie Inn, and I was a little raw doing wine dinners, but he gave me the confidence to like, you got this, dude. Don't worry about it. It's just gonna be easy. It's all about the food, and you're kind of cute anyways. I was like, whatever, dude, and stuff. But he always just made, as all of you said, he just made us always feel good about ourselves, and just was always a giver. Sandy, I just love them both all the time. I had an event in Portland up at the Departure one time, and they happened to skip away from the coast to go to Portland for like a concert. Happened to go up to Departure, saw Sokol Buster was there, and just barged into my event. It's like, where's Lee Medina? And I'm like, dude, what's up? Hugs and stuff. I'm like, party with us, and they hung out for about an hour, and they're like, dude, this is our only day in Portland, so we got more stuff to do, It's good seeing you and that kind of stuff. But just really good people. Every time I would come into town, and I'd look for that Volvo in the parking lot at Newman's, and like, oh, cool, John's here, or see Sandy, and spend time to see Chris. It was just, this community is very special, and John and all of you created it together, and I'm just happy to be here.
I think I know most of you. We operate the culinary school in Cannon Beach, the Christian Culinary Academy.
And I'm Ira's wife, Abby.
All right. Well, John, I moved to town 10 years ago, and John was obviously one of the first people I met, and with the school, and he was excited to get involved. And it wasn't just, another person wanting to chip in a little bit. He came in and with our students. He came in and guest taught with the students, and his passion for the students and his passion for the alumni of, over half of the staff there right now are alumni of our school, and it's just beautiful, the heart, the soul that he put into it. And so many of your stories are about how much he impacted because he was lifting you up, and I'm seeing this over and over and over these past 10 years of the impact that he has in the community and the impact that he had on our students, the small classes, and just really coming in, loving them, encouraging them, and showing them that there are good times in the industry. It's not as horrible as some people make it out to be. Yes, we all have those moments. Nobody's missed out on that. But to be able to take joy in it.
I remember with our small class right before COVID hit, he was teaching them how to make lobster thermidor. And he just looked at them and said, well, let's just go to the beach. And so he just took the students to the beach, and they had this nice little relaxing walk, and they just stepped away from the focus and the attention on the task. And I think his gift to be able to invest in people just has showed up with all of you and all the students, and what a great blessing and inspiration to the rest of us. We all have opportunity to touch someone else and to live his example. What a lovely picture.
And then right after class, he took them all surfing.
I think I knew John probably before just about anybody here, because I was supposed to have his job His first job was supposed to be the original chef at the Stephanie. Steve Martin called me and offered me the job, but I was a chef out at the country club at the time and loved it out there. And I was so happy that I passed on the job because a great man that was one of the best chefs I've ever worked with, came in and did an amazing job there. I mean, I couldn't imagine what the place would be if I'd been the original chef. So knowing at the level it's at is because of the roots that John gave it. So yeah, we had some great times down, and Lori and I were fortunate enough to go down to Palm Springs and stay down there with Jan and go around, and she takes us out to some different dinners and show us some different ideas. But I think best time was he had my back when we came down the hill from the viewpoint. You go up there and do the tram up there, and we were coming down the hill, and I cooked the brakes in her, was it a Cadillac or something? Yeah. And John had my back. He's like, you know what? I probably would have done the same thing, We got to the bottom and we just kept going. Would have been no problem, but instead we stopped, caught on fire. Oh yeah. Had a fire extinguisher and everything, but John was right there going, I would have had the same problem. So he had my back then. But yeah, what a great guy, and not words that can't say enough about what he's done for the community and all of our lives. So here's to John.
My name's Scott Newman. I spell it differently. I spell it with a U. John and I used to give each other crap about who, spelled it wrong. But I moved to Oregon in 1993, and very soon afterwards, people kept asking me the question, "Oh, are you related to John Newman?" I'm like, "Of course. My biological brother is John Newman." So it was another couple of years before I realized that there was this guy that was on the coast that was doing some pretty phenomenal work. And so to have people say, "Do you know John Newman?" I'd go, "That's my brother." And I felt that. Always did. And we had a lot of fun with our names. Whether, as I say, whether it was giving each other guff about, which was the right spelling, or, when Seinfeld was big. I can't tell you how many times a day I heard, "Hello, Newman." I looked the part. When John would say it was different. It was like, "Thank you, brother." I mean, that's exactly what I needed. My fondest memory of John was probably 15-ish years ago. Couple of days before the bite in Portland. They were doing the Iron Chef competition there. And literally it was Friday night was the initial round. Tuesday afternoon, about 5 o'clock, I get a call saying that one of the contestants pulled out, and would I step in? Chris talked about it when we first sat down. We're chefs, we're competitive people, and the older I get, the more I don't like my competitiveness when I try and compete. So I usually kind of decline this kind of thing, but I thought, hey, it's July, it's sunny, I can go out and I can look at Waterfront Park, or I can sit here and look at these stainless walls and get my butt kicked for the next 4 hours. I'm like, I think I'll take the Waterfront Park thing. But I was like, I just need to know one thing. Who am I competing against? And they said, John Newman. And I said, no problem. You know why? I don't mind losing to John Newman. I'll lose to him 10 times in a day, and I don't care, because he's the nicest guy in the world. And I was telling somebody that, like I say, competition doesn't necessarily play to my strength. So, because I like to plan. And so opening up a mystery of what it was going to be. I knew it was sponsored by New Seasons, so I literally spent the next day, I went to 2 different New Seasons locations, and I looked at every single item that was grown or raised in the state of Oregon. And my sous chef and I made a plan based on the list of pantry ingredients as to what we were going to do. And we guessed wrong. We changed the plan last minute, and at the end of it, they actually announced me as the winner. And I went to John with my, my head in my heart, and I was like, John, I'm so sorry. It's like, brother, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, yeah. He's the best. Greatly missed. He's a unicorn in the sense that he's a chef, a Christian, a surfer. You don't hear those 3 words put together very often. And to know all of the young people that started their spiritual journey because of meeting him on a beach with a surfboard, it's pretty cool. You're sorely missed, John. My brother.
I don't know if it was the fact that you're famous at the Stephanie Inn still for that cookbook, but also you once made fennel soup without fennel. I don't know if it's that you could somehow cut out a prep to surf before dinner service started. I'm not positive. I think the biggest impact you had on me was the fact that John would always give back. You know, your involvement with the Pro Star class at Seaside High, your involvement with the United Way, involvement with every event and festival that could happen within our small community of chefs, to give back to this community and to put food in front of people that needed it and to put money in front of people that were going to give it to people that needed food, has always been an inspiration to me, will always be an inspiration to me. You're missed already. Thank you.
Here's my copy.
Chef Holden has his copy of the Stephanie Inn cookbook here. There's not a recipe for fennel soup without fennel included in this. You have to be John Newman to pull that off.
I would like to add that, just for funsies, the Stephanie Inn cookbook. Hold on a second. Written by Lori McKean with Chef John Newman. He always gave credit to everybody else. This book happened to be signed by Aaron Bedard.
My name's Chris Graziano, and I really appreciated the fact the way that John gave back to the community. How I got to know him was through Iron Chef, and his exuberance and just his whole atmosphere about him and wanting to promote the food industry was incredible. But the way in which he gave back in so many different ways, I just appreciate the fact that he was kind, and since he was blessed, I'm so thankful he blessed so many others. So appreciate him, and I'll always remember him.
Hi, I'm John Soa, and what I'm going to do first here is a little write-up from a good friend of John's, also affectionately known as Red, Lynn Pelletier, great chef, is retired now, but she couldn't make it tonight, but I told her that I would say what she kind of written down for me here, so I'll give this for her first. As she said, there's no words that can ease the pain of losing a loved one. John and I had a special connection in that we both loved food and cooking it. Together, we were the original Iron Chef Goes Coastal in 2008, which was just a drop in the sea for him. He was always busy. I could tell when it took him several days to answer a text. It was my pleasure and privilege to partner with him on several occasions. He was really a hoot to be around, his laugh infectious. Dear Sandy, please know that you will always be in my heart and in memories of all of us together. Chef Lynn Red Pelletier. That's the message from Lynn. Myself, I met John when I first moved here 23 years ago in 1999, coming 3,000 miles away from New York. And of course, moving into a new neighborhood, not knowing anybody here other than my wife and her family, didn't know what to expect. A reception from people, or what they might think of me being a Brooklyn boy coming from New York City. I think I originally met John at United Grocers, where it basically was. And there was something about him that you can't put into words. You just can't possibly put into words. He had this infectious aura about him that when you saw him, you just smile. And we might not see each other for 6 months, or 4, 5, 8 months. But when we met, it was like we were just talking yesterday. He was an extremely special person. Words can't be put that makes a difference. in that he would be sorely missed. It came to a shock to all of us, and you never expect anything like that. But his laughter was infectious. He would help me out when I was in the dumps. We would kid about the slow days in Cannon Beach when we had no business at all. Being from New York, I had no idea what that was about and how to handle that. And he always would kind of boost my spirit to get through the next week, and he said it would be okay. And it basically was, you know. So he will be sorely missed, a very special individual. And I know he's in the right place now. And that's all I can say. Sandy, I wish the best for you, and I hope everything's okay. Thank you.
Do you remember when we went back to the Beard House?
Yeah.
Okay, so John opens up all this different type of prep stuff, and he says, okay, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. He says, who wants to do lamb? And I'll say, I'll do the lamb. What do you got? And he pulls out like 12 racks of lamb.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, cool, we're doing a rack of lamb. And he said, no, we're doing loins. And I think you said the same thing. I said, why'd you buy racks if we're doing loins? He says, well, it's cheaper. And I said, but didn't you have to ship these racks back? He said, well, yeah, what'd that cost you? It doesn't really matter. They were more expensive as loins. So that was the first, remember that?
Yeah.
So that was the first part. And then he says...
Would have been less to take the bone off first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do it at home, do whatever. And before we went, he said, don't bring knives, just bring an apron because it's all good, you don't need anything. And when we got there, because he said, Beard House has everything you need. Yeah, this place is old. And I remember John pulls out like this carbon steel sabatier, right? About that long. And I'm like, seriously? It's like not cutting. And he's like, oh, yeah. Go break down those lambs. You'll be great. So he says, maybe we should go outside. So I go outside, and I'm in the front yard. Now, we're downtown New York at the Beard House, and I go out front, and there's a cement curb. And I'm like not even paying attention. I'm in a T-shirt and jeans, and I'm honing that blade on the cement. And as I'm doing this, John's watching me from the window or whatever, and a mounted police officer is just like trotting by. And of course, only in New York can some dude in a white T-shirt and jeans be sharpening a 12-inch blade and have a cop walk by like, hey, how you doing? Like, not even think about it. And it took all day to break down those freaking lamb loins. It was crazy. It was crazy.
Had the pleasure of knowing John since I was 5 or 6 years old. Helped my family, my mom and dad and my brother get established on the coast back in '96, and always has, you know, been there for us in so many different ways. But you know, he's always had a passion for life, not only in his food, but just for people around him, caring and giving back and teaching. You know, after our father passed away, he was definitely one of those that really kindled my passion for cooking and made me realize that's where I'm at. That's what I want to do. I'm a lifer, you know, and he really harnessed that and in such a beautiful way, and in a way that wasn't pushing, in a way that he made me see it for myself. He planted that seed for my idea of why I wanted to do it. Not that because he wanted me to do it, but you know, he's touched so many different chefs' lives and fed so many different people, and gosh, truly we lost really one great chef. And you know, one of the last things I had the pleasure of doing was, you know, John and Sandy came out to Portland to he was taking her to get her foot taken at the doctor, and you know, he stopped by and got to feed him a pastrami sandwich and feed his belly and just chop it up about life and where they're going with Newman's and their plans moving forward in life after 18, 19 years, and me starting my, you know, relationship with my future wife, and it was just a beautiful moment. One that I'll definitely always cherish for the rest of my life, and you know, we're all chefs here. If we can give out one last herd for John. Herd chef.
All about. It's nice to hear all the stories from everybody and know that we're all so shy and
none of us have a voice. Very wonderful to be here. Took me a long time to find a home on the coast here, and growing up in Detroit and moved to DC and Maryland, Virginia, and Portland, Oregon for 20 years, and never felt at home or part of a community before. Got here, Chris always made me feel welcome and invited me to the first Iron Chef, which of course we lost, but
Only by a little.
only by a little. And we all went out for drinks that night afterwards.
As you do.
And it was wonderful to see the community that I'd fallen into and randomly became a part of because of Chris. And we all went out for drinks and had a wonderful time. None of us remember anything that happened. Nor will we speak of it. Just it was an honor to know John, and just loved him. Just what an incredible guy he was, and the more I learned about him, always impressive. That's about all I got. Thank you.
You know, I've known John for, good God, 20-something years. I met him when I got invited to the Taste of Tillamook to do a chef demonstration and an Iron Chef. I'm kind of fresh out of culinary school. I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? You know, I'm invincible. Go to this, you know, to the fairgrounds, do this, you know, chef demonstration for like 2 hours. Making fresh raviolis on stage and all this, and then they're like, "Oh, so you're gonna go up against this guy, John Newman?" I was like, "All right, I don't know the guy, you know." Come to find out, he's like, you know, kind of a big deal. And so, you know, we battled it out. It was, you know, kind of a rinky-dink operation, and it, you know, it was a little rough, but I had, you know, 6 of the 7 judges come up to me after the competition and say, "You got my vote?" I was like, "No way," you know. He still won. Somehow he still won. And I never let him live that down. But one of my greatest stories is I had just left Martin Hospitality, and I was on a little bit of a hiatus. Took some time off, and John calls me up and he's like, "I got a problem." I'm like, "What's up?" He's like, "I don't know anybody that can make sushi than you're like the only one that I know, and it's Valentine's weekend and I don't have anybody in my sushi bar." And I'm like, "Well, crap. Okay, I got nothing else better to do, why not?" And go in, had fishes. And so I just like walk in the kitchen with my knife bag. I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna make some sushi, you know, it's cool." So I learned his little operation, got to know the guys, had a blast, you know. Called me up the next day, he's like, "Hey, you wanna come back? They really like working with you." I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not, you know?" And so I did a few days, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 days that I spent over at Fishes and helped him out and got him through it. And, what's that?
I learned a lot.
Yeah. You know, watching it, you know, going in and finding like half cut up fish and like just rando stuff everywhere, and it was just like, okay, you know. But that was the one thing about, you know, about us chefs, is that it was never about the competition. It was always about the friendship. It was always about the camaraderie. It was, you know, we all had each other's backs. If it wasn't for John, I wouldn't be here on the coast. After that Iron Chef competition, we stayed in touch, you know, developed a friendship. And when I was ready to leave Hillsborough, I called him up and I was like, "Hey, I need a job. I want to move out to the coast." He's like, "Okay, let me see what I can do." I got a call from the VP the next day and had a job within a week, and moved on to the coast with Martin Hospitality, and working alongside John Newman at Stephanie Inn, and you know, that's how I've met so many of you people, is through my work with United Way and Iron Chef and John was always instrumental in every aspect of it. If it wasn't for John being the director of United Way and wanting me to come help start Iron Chef Goes Coastal for United Way, that may not have happened, you know? But it's all about who we know and what we can do for each other. Yeah. And we're a team, we're a family, and he was one of my best friends, and I know he will never be forgotten.
I'm Gretchen Allen, not a chef. I burn water, but that's okay. I ate many a meal that John prepared at the Miss Clatsop. And you know, there's something about, I was a single mom. I'm a tomboy. I ride motorcycles, I go snowboarding, and I had this girl that was very girly and I didn't know what to do with her. So I took her to Miss Clatsop, and she, from the moment she was on the stage that first time, John said, she's gonna be Miss Oregon. And he always believed in her. And 9 years later, she was Miss Oregon. And he went all the way to Miss America with her, as did Sandy. You know, having people like them when you're a single parent help you raise your child, to instill in them those values, to always be that positive influence. When you sometimes can't, it's amazing. And I know, I've talked to Alexis, she lives in LA now, and John always believed in her. Not once, when she didn't believe in herself, she knew John did. And she knew Sandy did. And that just is so special. So, I mean, yeah, it's amazing. And then in New Jersey, John took my son surfing, of course. And I didn't get to go. I wanted to go so bad, but I was afraid Alexis would call. And so I didn't go because I wish I had now, but yeah, so Matthew got to go surfing with John and everybody, and it just, very special people, both of them. And so, I won't cry.
So, I've done, to my record, over 250 weddings at this point. And I tell everyone, don't do open mic toasts. Because someone's gonna go twice, and the second time they do, they're gonna talk way too long, and it's gonna be weird.
Is that what's happening right now?
This is happening right now. No, this one's for Sandy. Sandy taught me everything about front of house. I not only work back house, but I work front of house. Sandy taught me hospitality. Sandy taught me everything. But there's this one day that also, Newman taught me how to surf. Like, John Newman taught me how to surf. And so when I learned to surf, I wore 2 wetsuits because I couldn't afford a real wetsuit. So I bought one wetsuit that had a tear that went all the way down this leg, and the other wetsuit had a tear that went all the way down this side. So if I wore both wetsuits together, I could have a full wetsuit. And I had this board that was duct taped up. It was fucked. Sorry, it was into
Twice. One more strike.
All right, I get 3, right? So, sorry, admit that. So, we're out there in the water together, and John and I are talking, and I was like, I was having some issues with my mom, and I was kind of telling him about this, and I was like, from everything you've taught me, John, forgiveness is so key in life. It's so key. Like, I need to learn how to get into my relationships to a point where I have the ability to forgive, like, and keep the relationships that are the longest for me. And he was just like, yeah, waves coming. And I was just like, okay. And so I'm in the middle of this hard, like, deep conversation. I paddle for this wave, and I take it, and we go in, and I'm like paddling back out, and this wave's cresting up over me. And I go, and this board's huge and covered in duct tape. And so I flip it over to do like a turtle dive, and the board comes down and smacks my head and hits me so hard. I'm underwater seeing stars, and I breach, and I come up, And I'm paddling back out, and I see stars, and I'm like just bewildered. And I was like, oh man, like I don't know if I'm good here. Like I don't know if I'm okay. I think I have a concussion. And I paddle up to John, and I was like, and he's like, you okay, Sparky? And I was like, I don't know, man. I just hit my head so hard. And he's like, hey, I've been thinking about what you just said about forgiveness. And Sandy and I, you know, we had this fight, and I gotta go talk to her right now. And I was like, John, I'm feeling pretty woozy, dude, and I don't know. And he's like, all right, I love you, man. I'll see you tomorrow. And he paddles off. And I'm sitting there like, I'm alone out here at Shorty's. And I was like, that dude just paddled off on me. And so I was like, all right, I'm okay. And so I paddled in, like, you know, I got home. John's nowhere to be seen. He beelined it. He was gone. And I remember getting home, and I called him, and he's like, hey, dude, thank you so much for what you said out in the surf today. And I was like, hey, I'm pretty sure I got a concussion. He's like, Sandy and I had such a good talk tonight. And I'm like, yeah. I didn't have to go to the hospital or anything. He's like, yeah, like I realized nothing that is between us has any precedent, and she's all that I have. Like, she's everything to me. And I was like, I should probably have gone to the hospital. He's like, I realized that she is my everything. Like, he never acknowledged it. He never acknowledged that I had a concussion. Instead, he was so focused on Sandy. He was so focused on her. And that, like, that was his thing. And the two of them working together, like, I learned my front of house and back of house from them. And I swear, like, the reason that I'm a salesman, the reality behind my ability to sell is her. My reality behind my ability to cook is him. And like, the two of them were something, you know? And so, like, if this message goes to Sandy, like, thank you. Just thank you for your partnership. Thank you for teaching me what it is to be a husband and wife.